Okay, well, hi everyone, and thank you very much for everyone watching or listening. Liam Hartery back with you again today with another episode of Presenting Champions. And today I'm joined by a very special guest. I'm joined by the MFC Lethwei world champion, Michal Košík. I hope I'm saying that the right way, and his lovely girlfriend as well, who's going to be interpreting for us. Now, today we won't just be talking about fighting in Lethwei and other styles as well, but we will also be talking about the mindset that it takes to reach a high level in some of the toughest sports in the world. It takes a very unique, very brave, and very special breed of person to do what this man does today. So we'll be hearing about that side of things as well. Maybe a few tips for young fighters out there listening to this around the world as well. So stay tuned, everybody. And guys, like I was saying before, thank you both so much for making time to do this interview today, and it really is a pleasure. So thank you both.
Thank you for having us.
Absolute pleasure. So the first question I have, I'm addressing you both because it's a bit, I feel if I'm talking to one, I'm ignoring the other one. So I'll just throw it out there for both of you. But the first question for the champ is basically how he started training in fighting, maybe a little bit about his background, if it's relevant, but particularly where that first interest in martial arts started and what inspired him, please.
Kedy si sa začal venovať bojovým športom? Či je za tým nejaké tvoje pozadie, že či si sa tomu venoval v detstve, alebo čo ťa také prvé inšpirovalo, aby si začal s bojovými športami?
Vždy ma to k tomu ťahalo, že som to chcel robiť a páčili sa mi ľudia, ktorí vlastne boli chalani, ktorí mali rešpekt, mali úctu, lebo si to vybojovali a boli vlastne tvrdí chlapi.
He was always drawn to the martial sports, always wanted to do it, and he says he admired all the fighters and the guys that stood in the ring and that they could fight and that they had the everybody respected them, and he liked that. He wanted that for him.
Okay, so that was the inspiration. And can you ask him, please, as well, in terms of the progression? What I mean by this is people start something, but then there's a time when they realize they're good at it and they realize they can go far in this sport. So the transition from, okay, I enjoy this, to actually I can really do something with this and I can win something, if that makes sense. What that process was like for him, please.
Aký bol pre teba ten proces toho rastu, kde si začal iba s tým športom a v jednom bode si uvedomil, že v tomto som dobrý a môžem v tom pokračovať a môžem v tom niečo dosiahnuť. Že či nám môžeš povedať niečo o tom progrese, o tom postupe.
Takže vlastne najprv som to robil len vlastne, aby ma to bavilo. Chcel som si zaspárovať s chalánmi, ale potom si vlastne uvedomil, že môžem. Vlastne keď som mal prvý zápas o titul amatérsky, tak som si uvedomil, že môžem zápasiť vlastne s lepšími chalami. A chcel som byť sa lepší a zlepšovať sa.
At first he just wanted to train as a hobby, liked it a lot. He wanted the sparring, he always enjoyed the contact. But the first transition probably for him was when he won his first amateur title. When he was fighting for his first amateur title, and he wanted to fight stronger guys and better names, and he wanted to grow better. That's when he saw the opportunity for himself to grow in the sport.
Absolutely. Okay, wonderful. And I'd like to find out a little bit about what these foundation styles actually were, in terms of which, because later on obviously we have the Lethwei, we have other things, but in the beginning was he mainly focusing on like MMA or wrestling, or which kind of thing, please?
V akom type toho športu si začínal vlastne bojového športu? Čo bol tvoj základ? Či to nebolo MMA, wrestling alebo tak?
Tajský box.
It was Muay Thai from the beginning.
Muay Thai, okay.
Started with Muay Thai right away.
Yeah.
Also,
excellent.
his title fight was in Muay Thai, so.
Mám rád tvrdé techniky stojí.
He likes strong, hard techniques in stand-up.
Stand-up striking. Okay, very good, very good. That makes sense. So talking about this as well, I'd like to just touch on some of the early successes. What I mean by that is, you mentioned the first amateur title there that came up. Really to get a feeling for those early years and what was going through his mind at that time, what some of the expectations were, if that makes sense, and just to get the feeling for that time of his life, those first successes, please.
Prvé roky tvojej kariéry, prvé zápasy a tie prvé nejaké úspechy, čo si mal, že ako si bol vtedy mentálne nastavený a že ako si to vtedy vnímal, že aký si bol na začiatku.
Nemal som vlastne vysoké ciele, chcel som len si zazápasiť, ale nebol som dobre mentálne nastavený. Bol som vlastne, ovplyvňovali ma ľudia, to, čo mi to povedal, to ma vlastne ovplyvnilo.
He says at the beginning he didn't have a big ambition in this sport. He just wanted to train for himself because he liked it. And he says at the beginning he was not really well mentally, not well prepared in the ring because people around him were influencing him too much about what they would say about the fight, what they would say if he's good enough, if he's not good enough. And this was a lot of mental burden at the beginning of his career.
Okay. Can you tell him, it's not a question, but can you tell him that I just think that's a really good tip or really good advice for other people who are starting out, maybe if they are listening to this, by the way?
Že si myslí, že toto nie je otázka, že si myslí, že je to skvelý tip pre ľudí, ktorí teraz iba vlastne začínajú s týmto športom. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Because obviously it's about him, but at the same time, people can learn from the things that well, the things that didn't, etc. Okay, so over the course of his career, amateur, professional, how many fights have you had in total? Do you keep track of this?
Koľko si mal celkovo zápasov, či si to nejakým spôsobom pamätáš?
Okolo 50.
Around 50.
Yeah. Okay. Can you tell him, please, that I watched some of these, by the way. I heard about him from the Lethwei side, but I watched some of the Thai boxing or kickboxing fights as well. Always hard to find how many. So 50 is a lot. It's very good.
Ja, že videl tvoje zápasy aj v kickboxe, aj v tajskom, a že 50 je celkom dosť.
Ďakujem. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. So as we move forward in this, I would like to talk about some of your proudest moments, champ, in terms of the Muay Thai or the Thai boxing, whichever term you use for it. Some of the proudest moments specifically with that. We will come to the Lethwei separately, but a few highlights from that, please, would be great.
Nejaké také tvoje momenty, na ktoré si najviac hrdý, ale v tej Muay Thai alebo K1 kariére, že ešte Lethwei sa len dostane. Že si vlastne zapasil vám s tými prvými supermi.
Že vlastne zápasil som s tými prvými zápasmi, už od začiatku. A mal som ťažkých superov. Stále s majstrami som zapasil.
He said even when he started, some of his first fights were against really strong guys who were a lot more experienced at the beginning. Not all of them he knew, those people, not all of them, but he after he found out that they were actually really good fighters and they were a lot stronger and at a higher level, of experience and the technical level, and he had a really hard start for this, but I think that's probably the way he grew, and that's how he got to where he is right now.
A great answer, great answer. And I'd like to talk about that as well from the mental side, because people with combat sports, they focus on the body, which is obviously very important, but you have to have a strong mind to do this as well. And I'm curious if that is something he feels he always had, or if that is something he has cultivated and built over time.
Že pýta sa na tú mentálne nastavenie, že či si myslíš, že tú tvrdosť si mal vždycky, alebo že či si to vybavil, teda či si na tom zapracoval a získal si to postupne.
Myslím si, viem, že tú mentálnu moju odolnosť nejakú mám stále, ale musel som to zlepšovať a vyvíjať sa kvôli tomu, že som mal tie vplyvy ľudí, na mňa mi robili problém, tak som sa to musel vlastne zlepšiť.
He says naturally he is mentally tough, and he was at the beginning, but he could tell that people were not influencing him in the right way, and that this was something that he had to work on in order to improve himself.
Povedal by som, že nevedel som si vlastne tak.
He's saying he didn't really trust in himself at the beginning. He didn't have the confidence in himself.
Okay, that's a very, someone text me, sorry, so it's moved. But that's a very honest answer, because a lot of people wouldn't admit to something like that. So perhaps you can tell him I respect the, not so much the honesty, but being upfront about that topic would be.
Respektuje vlastne to, že si taký priamy, otvorený v tejto téme. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Doing a great job of the translation. So hopefully I'm making the questions simple enough. I'm trying to think of the simplest way to to explain them. Okay, so as we move forward in time a little bit, can you ask him, please, what inspired the interest in Lethwei, the interest to take on something even more extreme than the Muay Thai side of things, please?
Čo inšpirovalo tvoj začiatok v Lethwei? Že čo ťa vlastne motivovalo začať s niečím ešte tvrdším a extrémnejším ako je tajský?
Veľa mojich zápasov vlastne bolo väčšinou kickboxer, lebo tajský som nechceli ľudia zapasiť. A vlastne Lethwei, keď prišiel Dave Leduk, vlastne nám ukázal, v čom to je. A vlastne bol to najtvrdší šport a vedel som, že to to nepôjde, tak chcel som ísť.
He said many of his fights before the Lethwei era were in kickboxing because not many opponents wanted to fight Muay Thai against him. So when Dave Leduc came to our gym, made a seminar about Lethwei, he got hooked up completely and wanted to try that because it was the hardest, the toughest combat sport, standing up, that you could imagine. So that was something that he wanted to try.
Okay, so we'll talk about that some more in a moment. Did I understand correctly, there was some boxing fights in there as well? You were saying that there was some.
He had most of his fights before Lethwei were in kickboxing, and some fights were in Muay Thai, because there aren't really that many opportunities to fight Muay Thai full rules now. Not all the fighters want to fight with the elbows and the clinching. So it's harder to fight Muay Thai now, but that's it. Actually, I'm not sure, maybe Michael would notice it, would mention it later, but he had a fight in all of the styles, in Muay Thai, in Lethwei, kickboxing, boxing, and MMA also. He's he's into every discipline.
Yes, I thought he was, which is why I was asking at the beginning. To be honest, I've mainly seen the kickboxing and the Lethwei. I was aware that there was something to do with MMA, and these other things, which is why I was asking about the wrestling and things. So that makes sense now. Okay, thank you. I mean, that's good to know. So you tried a bit of everything. You might as well ask him then, please, if there is a favorite out of all of these styles. Does he have a style that he prefers above all others, please?
Niektorý z týchto štýlov preferuješ viac ako iné bojových štýlov? Lethwei, definitely.
Lethwei. I thought it might be, but you never know. So it's always worth asking. Okay, so with the Lethwei side of things, can you ask him about some of the adaptions of training and obviously of the fights themselves? Because there's a lot of similarities, but obviously there are some differences as well. Was it easy to adapt to, or was there a transition there?
Pýta sa na to, ako sa adaptoval na Lethwei, že niektoré veci sú podobné, niektoré veci sú iné, že aký bol tá adaptácia a ten prechod k tomu Lethwei.
Zápas?
Príprava na zápasy.
Vlastne myslím si, že to bolo pre mňa veľa lepšie. Cítil som sa pri tom taký otvorený, že nebol som ako kickboxerka jednotke, že tam nemôžem ľahtie, nemôžem clinch, tu som mal vlastne všetko plus najvyššie veci.
He says he was feeling very, very open and very free in the Lethwei rules, because in kickboxing you cannot do elbows, you cannot clinch, or sometimes you cannot catch a leg, but in Lethwei you can do everything, plus you can do the headbutts. So he enjoyed this.
Okay. And in terms of training for a headbutt, you know. I mean, it's something. When I do the Lethwei interviews, by the way, I've had a few champions from that, and people always want to know about this, you know, the headbutts in the clinch and things. How does he train for that bit specifically?
Ako špecificky trénuješ hlavičky?
Na vreci alebo na lop.
Na veci. He says on the heavy bag or in the pads.
Okay,
Mostly.
fair enough.
It's very hard to train something like this with a sparring partner, obviously.
Yes, yeah. Hence, I was curious how you adapt that. It makes sense. Okay. So with Lethwei, obviously, yeah, people will want to hear about the world title, you know. I mean, I think this is something that really um, made him known around the world. And I remember at the time, this was all over the media with Lethwei, with kickboxing outlets and what have you. So it's not really a very specific question, but can he just describe his experiences of becoming world champion in terms of the fight, but also in terms of what went through his mind in a moment like that?
Pýta sa na ten MFC titulový zápas, že vlastne ako si to prežíval, keď si sa stal šampiónom a čo išlo tvojou hlavou.
Aha. Takže bol to ťažký zápas na 5 kôl. Po zápase vlastne som ani nemyslel na nejaký opasok. Uvedomil som si to až vtedy, keď prišiel sa Dave Leduc a ľudia sa tam nahromadili v klietke a dali mi opasok okolo pása. Až vtedy som to zistil a potom sa tak uvedomil tak naozaj, keď tie emócie vlastne opadli na druhý deň.
He says it was a very hard fight, both physically and mentally, and that right after the fight he wasn't even thinking about the belt itself. He was just happy that he made a good fight and that all he trained for he could show in the cage. The first time he realized this was actually happening was when Dave Leduc entered the cage and they gave him the belt, and all the people started coming and clapping him and taking pictures with him and everything, but like the whole thing was a little bit in a blur. But he realized the next day was when he realized that he was actually the champion, when all the emotion had gone away and he woke up the next day and realized that this was real.
Wow, that's a wonderful description. And can you ask him as well, please, what how do I explain this? What he feels that this win means to the people of Slovakia, maybe to people in general, you know, to young fighters, but specifically to your countrymen and women, please.
Čo tento tvoj titul, toto tvoje víťazstvo znamená pre Slovensko, Slovákov, nielen pre zápasníkov, ale možno aj pre ľudí tu v okolia?
Takže vlastne mať majstra sveta v Letve je vlastne ešte stále nejaká taká rarita. Sme jedna z malých krajín, kde sa vlastne Lethwei zápasí a vlastne všetci ľudia, vlastne, ktorí sledujú Lethwei, vlastne nielen Slováci, ale aj z iných krajín vlastne mi aj písali a podporovali ma v tom a boli na mňa vlastne hrdí.
He says that it's still quite rare to be a Lethwei champion, and Slovakia is actually one of very few countries that makes Lethwei fights. And he says that the community of people from Slovakia, but also from abroad that follow Lethwei fights and Lethwei community, that he received a lot of positive feedback, a lot of people texting him about how proud they were of him becoming the champion, and he had a lot of really positive feedback and background from people.
And on the subject of that feedback, how does he feel about having gained fame, basically, or at the very least, whether he regards it as fame or not, I don't know, but at the very least, earlier you said about he wanted that respect when he started out. I would imagine by now he's gained that respect many times. And I'm curious about how he feels about that aspect, if that makes sense, please.
Pýta sa, že potom to si vlastne získal nejakú aj takú slávu. A na začiatku si hovoril, že si obdivoval, že tí chlapi v ringu majú ten rešpekt. Že či máš pocit, aj keď si ho už získal veľakrát predtým, že či sa toto vlastne u teba zmenilo a čo to vlastne pre teba znamená, že s tým rešpektom.
Takže vlastne ten rešpekt myslím, že už som mal, ale som si vlastne tak v sebe som si vlastne tú že si dokázal si z toho fakt, že si najtvrdší a môžem boxovať s najtvrdšími a že idem vlastne iným smerom ako ostatní ľudia, že môžem ísť.
He says he already had the respect, of course, from earlier. But this fight, what it meant for him was that he showed to himself mostly that he really is one of the toughest ones and that he could go in a different direction than most people do, that he could do something else.
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes sense because of what he was saying earlier about not having the belief, and then having the belief now. Now, a question, you're probably not expecting this, but a question for you for a moment, not so much for him. Did you guys meet, at what point? Did you meet after the world title, before? If you don't mind me asking you, I have a reason for asking.
It's okay. We've known each other for many years. We've been training together for many years, actually. I also am a trainer from Muay Thai, but I only train ladies and women. And we've been friends for many years. And after the world title fight, we became a couple.
Okay, and you obviously feel that you have supported him and encouraged him, because you know what they say: behind every great man there's a great woman as well. And what are your thoughts on how you have encouraged him to succeed, even as a friend? Because I'm sure you have.
I really believe I helped him a little bit on the way. I actually did some of the promoting before the show, made the fight happen. I organized the whole show and made the fight happen. To be honest, at the time, just as a friend, I was really, really scared, to see him fight 5 rounds, no gloves, bloody sport. But I was really hoping, and I always trusted him. I always knew he was going to be the champion, and I knew he could do it. And I was so happy and so proud of him when he won. I think even if I helped just a little bit, I'm really happy that it all made his dreams come true.
Well, thank you, because I know you weren't expecting to have the spotlight on you for a moment, but I'm sitting here and I was sort of, it's all very well to write questions, like I sent you some questions, but I just had the feeling of thinking there's a lot more to what you do, and you're not just here translating. So I'm really glad to give that a mention. And now you are with the world champion, and it's a very special thing, the part that you played in that. Maybe you want to explain to him possibly what I was asking, just because obviously.
Pýtal sa na môj pohľad na teba, a že keďže sme boli predtým kamaráti, že či si myslíš, že som ťa nejakým spôsobom podporila v tom zisku toho titulu, tak som vlastne povedala o tom, akože ja som vlastne ten zápas organizovala, a že dúfam, že ak som aspoň malým kúskom tým prispela, že sa ti splnil ten sen, takže som veľmi rád.
Otázka.
Okay. Yeah, to som ti mala preložiť. Okay, I translated for him. Also gave him a little overview of my answer.
Okay, thank you. Just so that he knows what we're saying.
He speaks English, okay, because we speak together, but he feels more comfortable, this way when I translate for him.
I understand this. Just to go off topic just for a moment. I'm from the UK originally. I'm not English. I'm Welsh, but I'm from there, and I'm in Cyprus at the moment, working, and I've moved to Cyprus, so I'm learning Greek at the moment, but I speak English. And so I know what it's like, when you're in that situation where you speak some, but you don't know what people are saying. And I know some of what, so yeah, it's okay, Anyway, that's off topic. Going back to the fights and everything, like this, obviously his future plans as well, and what he wants to do next after becoming a champion. And I don't really know how far in the future he would like to say and how far he plans, but any dreams and goals from here would be good to talk about, please.
Aké sú tvoje plány do budúcnosti, nielen so športom, ale aj akože tak celkovo, a že je na tebe, že ako veľmi do vzdialenú budúcnosť chceš odprezentovať, ale že teda, aké sú tvoje plány?
Tak, rád budem zápasiť vlastne ďalej, hlavne v tomto Lethwei, ak budú zápasy, alebo aj vlastne Muay Thai. Zápasy hlavne pre radosť, a teraz sa vlastne venujem aj trenerstvu a podávam vlastne ďalej tie moje skúsenosti, podám ďalej ľuďom.
Okay, he said he is excited to fight some more, mostly Lethwei fights, if there are going to be any. We're hoping for that. For him, fighting makes him happy. That's his main goal. He likes it, he loves it, wants to do it because it makes him happy. And at this moment, he's also a trainer, so giving all of the experience and everything he's learned, he's giving it to younger people now.
That is wonderful. Well, wonderful with the future plans, but with the training as well. This is something I had in mind to mention. Obviously, if people would like to learn directly, they should come and see him. But there are people all around the world watching this. So I was wondering if he could share maybe a couple of other tips of advice for young fighters. Well, you're both quite young, but I mean people who are literally starting out.
Yeah, the beginning.
Big question, but maybe just a couple of things would be great. Thank you.
Skús nejaké rady pre mladých začínajúcich zápasníkov a tak. A potom myslím, že to k tomu.
Športujte, venujte svojim záľubám, máte svoje ambície a hlavne robte to pre radosť, s radosťou to robte.
He says his main idea here is for the young people, do sports, do your hobbies, have ambition, but never forget to do it for your happiness. Do it with joy.
Absolutely. Well, some very good topics included in that. I think we've covered most of what I sent you, but I think I've improvised a few questions there as well. So sorry about that, but it's an instinct that sometimes other things come up. Is there anything else that you would like to mention that we haven't covered? Have we missed anything, or are you both happy with all of the topics, please?
Či sme ešte na niečo zabudli, alebo chceme ešte niečo spomenúť?
Ideme tu tréningu alebo mentálnej príprave?
Okay, môžeš niečo o tej mentálnej príprave. Actually, he's been thinking a little bit about one of the questions you sent us was how he keeps mentally fit and how he keeps mentally tough, for the fight. So maybe that's a topic he would like to address. Tak môžeš to.
Že myslím si vlastne, že mentálna príprava je dôležitá, nielen v bojových športoch, ale celkovo v športoch. Ja si myslím vlastne, že som mentálne odolný, vládam údery, ale musel som sa takisto dosť mentálne vlastne zlepšiť, zdokonaliť, hlavne kvôli tým vlastne ľuďom, kvôli tomu okoliu, médiám, okolie.
He says that one of the most important parts of training and entering the ring is the mental toughness and getting ready mentally for the fight. He himself feels like he's always been tough. He can take a punch, and he's not afraid to enter the ring. But in order to put his best, the best of his whatever his skills, he needs to be in the right place in his head, and he said that he needed to work on himself, his own self-confidence, and not maybe not taking other people's opinions too much, not letting other people pull him down from listening to maybe some stupid remarks and the talk.
Absolutely. It's important to have that mindset that is bulletproof, let's say, from people's opinions. Can you ask him as well something that often is a very good topic for fighters in terms of handling adrenaline? And as you say, I know he's not afraid of getting in there. I understand that. But at the same time, there is that pressure of the build up to a fight in particular. And a lot of guys tell me that can be harder than the fight itself, is the time before. I'd like to go a little bit deeper into that process and how he manages that, please.
Že pýta sa na ten moment na tie momenty predtým, ako ideš do toho zápasu, keď je najvyšší ten adrenalín a že niektorí zápasníci hovoria, že to je ťažšie ako samotný zápas, že ako vlastne zvládaš tú nervozitu a ten adrenalín a ten build-up, čo sa tam vlastne tvorí v tebe, že ako, či máš na to nejaký zlepšovák, ako si sa vyrovnať.
Takže to je pravda, že je to vlastne tá mentalita, je to vlastne horšie pre zápasom, lebo v zápase tam už je adrenalín, tam už sa človek bije. A len sa kľudím. Vlastne myslím na to, že idem vyhrať a myslím na to, čo idem spraviť. Viem, že som dobre pripravený, aj mentálne, aj fyzicky, aj kondične. Nemám problém a vlastne nepúšťam si do hlavy žiadne okolie, nič, nikoho.
He admits that this is really the hardest part of the fight itself, because once you enter the ring, the adrenaline is already there and you are already fighting, you're already in the fight mode, but right before that, all the ideas and all the thoughts come into your head, and just what works for him is to keep telling himself, I need to be calm, I got this, I'm going to win. Just focus on getting there, doing his best and winning the fight. And obviously he tells himself, I'm ready mentally, I'm ready physically, I trained hard, I am in good shape, I have it, like I have everything I need to go into the ring and just make a show.
Okay, yes, positive self-talk, self-affirmation.
Like just not let other people, get into his head before the fight. He says he's actually a little bit staying away from people.
Yes, it's important. It is very important because everyone has an opinion, and it's very good. Not so much a question for him, but I'm just saying it's very good from what we said earlier, where he struggled with that self-belief and things, to now where maybe there's a struggle, but he has methods for persevering through that. It's very, very good. Okay, good. Now, as I have said to you, I usually do these on a computer. I usually have my notes, so I'm doing this more from memory because I'm in a new country and everything is, as we say in English, up in the air, which means it's all getting settled. So, have I missed any of the other questions that I sent you, or have we covered?
So. I think all the questions you sent us were answered.
Good. I think so as well.
I think we've done all of the questions that you sent.
That's good. I thought we had, but it's good. I'm glad we got the mindset topic in there because, as I said before, as much as the interview is about him or about both of you, really, for the young fighters out there, for people to follow their dreams, is very important. I am going to ask one more that's not on there, and then we'll finish up. Just in terms of social media, just in terms of people hearing about this, maybe for the first time, and they want to follow him, what is the best way to do that, please?
Aký je najlepší spôsob, ako ťa sledovať na sociálnych sieťach?
Instagram.
Definitely Instagram.
Okay, good. Okay then, well, I thank you both very, very much for your time, and I thank you very much, first of all, for interpreting. I thank Michael very much for his time as well. I would like to say one final thing, not a question, but just something I would like to say to him as well, that doing an interview like this in a language that is not your own, or not your first language, is a very brave thing to do also, even though he may not see it that way, and I have respect for that. So maybe you could just tell him that, please, as the final thing.
Ja ti chcem iba povedať poslednú vec, že robiť takto interview v jazyku, ktorý nie je tvojim materským, že je podľa neho veľmi odvážna vec, aj keď možno ti to tak nezdá, ale že to je akože, ďakujem vám pekne. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. It's something for both of you, to be honest, but it is, and for you to interpret as well or translate is a brave.
I was very happy too. We had a nice talk.
We did. Very, very nice talk. Very inspirational. I'm just going to take a photo or a screenshot of us talking, just so I can post it. One more. There we go. Just so I can post it and say interview coming soon and all of that. I will send to you as well when I release this. So obviously I will promote it my side. But if you guys could share it around so that people in Slovakia can hear, and English as well. But because it's in both languages, I think some people will hear this who don't ordinarily hear my stuff, and it's good for all of us. And the last thing I'll say is, when he wins more titles, if he wants to do this again, I'd be very open to that as well. I don't say that very often, but I also have a feeling that there's more to come with his journey as well. So
Very much.
Thank you.
there we are.
Okay,
So
we'll keep in touch.
thank you both. Have a great evening. Thank you
Have a
again.
great evening yourself. Bye.
See you.
Bye bye. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.